Now, in my opinion, this is the only thing that's holding the Ford GT back, the new Ford GT, and that's the engine. Now, don't get me wrong, the engine's fantastic. It's a V6 engine that puts out 640 something horsepower, which is incredible for a V6. But when you look at the car, I mean, all the work that Ford's put in there, this is clearly the pinnacle of Ford's engineering. They put everything they had in this car. I mean, it handles great, it looks great. I mean, just look at the car. It's so aerodynamic and it looks like a race car, honestly. A race car on the road. It's not like any other Ford we've seen. And obviously it takes some inspiration from the Ford GT, but I think we can honestly say these two are completely different cars. And the reason why I think this engine is holding it back is because this car, in every other aspect, has the potential to be a hypercar. Ford's first hypercar. I mean, it looks, just looking at it, anyone would think that's a hypercar, obviously. But it's the power. Now, the greatest the V6 is, 640 something horsepower. It's not enough to be classified as a hypercar. You need around the 1,000 mark at least to be in that hypercar territory. And if they manage to put in a hybrid powertrain or maybe a V8 engine, a V8 engine with 900 something or 1,000 horsepower, I think everyone would clearly say that this is a Ford hypercar, and they easily claim it. Nobody will argue with them because in every other aspect, this thing is a hypercar. Everything except the engine, the power output. I think Ford missed a big opportunity, and it's not like they don't have V8 engines that put out a lot of power. They do, but obviously it would take a lot of work to put in this car. I mean, they probably had to do a lot of re-engineering and all that, but they should have just waited and done that. They should have put out a V8 or something, a V8 with a hybrid or something like that, and made the car generate close to 1,000 horsepower, and would have been incredible. Everyone would have loved it. Ford would have been finally into the hypercar race, and that's a big deal. I mean, there are now a lot of companies that can claim that they have a hypercar, but Ford could have done it easily. But they didn't, and it feels like missed opportunity, especially considering all the work that's put into it. Clearly, this was the top project, and the engine. I feel bad about complaining about the engine because they did a great job on the engine. The engine's fantastic. I mean, to push out that much power from a 600 engine is a big deal, but it should have been a V8 or something. And considering that they put 640 or something from this engine, they could have probably easily pushed back past 900 with the V8. So yeah, it's a golden opportunity that they missed. And honestly, if it was a hypercar, none of the other brands would even say it wasn't, because in every aspect it looks like a hypercar. Just looks alone is fantastic. Handling is fantastic. It could have easily sat with the Porsche, the Ferraris and the McLarens and the Porsches in the hypercar race. So yeah, it's a bit disappointing that this didn't happen, and I don't know if they're gonna make a success of this car anytime soon. I mean, the Ford GT came out in 2005, so maybe in a decade they might make another car, but the way things are going with the EVs and all, there's no telling whether that's possible. Maybe the next hypercar will probably be an electric, which I don't really care much about. I prefer supercars and hypercars to be NA engines, or at least hybrid engines. But yeah, you need an ICE engine in these cars, because a part of it is the feel, and without that, not the same, because all EVs sound the same, let's be honest. So yeah, the engine, in my opinion, is the only thing holding back the Ford GT, the new Ford GT.